Are you tired of the yo-yo dieting cycle? Quickly gaining a bunch of weight, but then also quickly losing it, gaining it, losing it? If so, I've been there several times over mostly the past 10 years or so, and I want to share with you some of the mindset shifts that I've been implementing over the past few months and years that have really helped me be able to lose 10 pounds, keep it off, and continue to lose weight in the healthiest way possible. I wanted to start off, in case you haven't seen any of my videos, by saying that way back like 20 years ago, because I'm 40 now, in college, I lost about 25 pounds. And I did it in a very slow and sustainable way. I was exercising every day, just kind of switched up what I ate, was a little bit more intentional with incorporating fruits and veggies and all that good stuff, and stopped eating candy and cookies every day because that's what I got into when I was in college. And so, of course, it just felt great. It became a part of my day-to-day to work out, and it wasn't this burdensome thing. I would work out 30 minutes most days, maybe an hour every once in a while. I remember when I got close to a friend's wedding, I was probably working out an hour, but it was, as I look back now, very healthy and sustainable compared to some of the shenanigans I've gotten myself into over the last 10 years between things like keto, which requires almost eliminating all carbs, carnivore, which is eliminating pretty much all carbs, fasting, not eating for a long, time, whether it was like intermittent or even extended day fasting, all of which for me did not help because it would just lead to overeating or binging, right? Whatever word you want to use. Some people don't like the word binging, but it's just you're overeating, So that's what happened to me. And that led to just increase in weight, decreasing, increasing, yo-yoing. And I don't want to do that anymore, right? So that led me to where I am today. After years and years of really enjoying learning about diet, lifestyle, fitness, but then also having my own struggle mentally and spiritually with like this yo-yoing, I wanted to really stop and reflect and pray and gain some wisdom on what's going on here. Why am I stuck in this weird cycle over the last specifically 5 years, basically, or 4 since COVID, where I gained a bunch of weight after 2020. And I've come to realize and understand the importance in a whole new way of mindset because I'm a therapist. I studied counseling 15 years ago. So it's funny how, you think you know a lot, but you realize as you get older, you don't know anything. And there's just always room to learn and to grow. So that's what I want to share with you today. So I did want to share a little bit about evidence, science-based interventions or science-backed things that we should talk about because it's something that has stood out to me over the last few months. And I'm going to look at my notes here because I'm not great at memorizing. Something that I've noticed, and there's research to support it, is that slow and steady weight loss is healthier and more effective. It says here that research supports 1 to 2 pounds per week for long-term results, and that's according to the CDC. Research does show, and I can see that from my personal experience, when I've done things slow and steady and what I can reflect as healthy in terms of mindset and everything else, it's led to long-term weight loss and sustained weight loss. I might fluctuate 5 to 10 pounds, but not 40 to 50 like I've done over the last few years, experimenting with the things that I talked about: keto, carnivore, fasting, etc. Dangers of extreme restriction leads to metabolic adaptation and eventual weight regain. I definitely noticed after being keto and then carnivore for a while that when I tried to transition back to having some carbs, my heart rate would really elevate and it just didn't feel healthy to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I make myself sick? But I don't think that's the case after, meeting with my doctor. It's just my body trying to adapt now from one thing to something else. And it took a year to recover metabolically from that, which for me, I don't think was a wise thing because eating just meat is not sustainable for me, and that's okay. It might be for some people, maybe some people can be that extreme, but I don't really believe that that's going to be the case for most people, honestly. C, balanced eating is key. Flexible diets improve adherence and reduce binge episodes. I've heard that so many times over the years as a counselor, and I'm very passionate about working with women, right? And so with women, body image and eating disorders is one of the top 3 mental health issues. So, you know, for a while when I was learning about all the benefits of things like keto or carnivore for mental health and physical health and autoimmune and all of that, I was struggling with it from what I understood in terms of a mental health perspective. But here I am 4 years later recognizing it's obviously not going to be, it's not something that you can say is going to be helpful for every single person. It's just not. So here are 5 mindset shifts that I'm going to share with you. The first one is, it's really important for me, and maybe for you, if you have a similar story of like way back when, you know, things were good, you kept it off for 5, 10, 15 years, right? You kept a healthy weight and healthy mindset. Number 1 is to reflect on what has worked for me in the past realistically. You know, we're not talking about, oh, I tried eating healthy for a month and now I'm giving up because it's not working. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is really give it a good 3 to 6 months. I think more so a balanced, slow approach, prioritizing protein and fiber so that you feel full and you're feeding and fueling your muscles and all that good stuff. And if you haven't already done that, consider that. So in terms of mindset for me, reflecting on what's worked in the past, and that's what has worked, the protein, the fiber, the incorporating a little sweet treat every day. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be some yogurt and granola and a little honey. It's not gonna crazy spike my insulin because I don't have diabetes. I don't need to worry about that. But if I continue to be 40, 50 pounds overweight and then some, well, then I will have to worry about that. So if I can find a replacement to cookies and cakes and things like that, that, you know, that I might fall into if I, you know, am restricting too much and then cave when I see, it might be better for me to incorporate healthier options like the yogurt and granola. Number 2, embracing discipline and routine over motivation. You know, understanding that this is not about I'm going to eat healthy when I feel like it. It's about I'm going to eat healthy whether or not I feel like it, because my goal to be a healthy mom, a healthy wife, a healthy person, and just feel good day in, day out, that's more important to me than feeling like doing it, if that makes sense. Especially over the holidays. And we can incorporate little treats and make room for like, okay, I know that on this day I have a holiday party, so I'll make that like my day where I make sure I have a good solid breakfast and lunch, make sure I have enough protein and fiber, and then leave room in my macros and in my calories to enjoy that day. You know, just finding a way to make it work. Number 3, making health a non-negotiable priority. I kind of talked about that. The same way, like I make brushing my teeth a priority, whether I feel like it or not is irrelevant. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to floss. I'm going to mouthwash. Kind of seeing it that way. Or like the same way that, you know, back when I used to work a full, 9 to 5, or it was more like a 7 to 3 because I was a teacher and a school counselor and all of that good stuff. It was non-negotiable. I had to show up to work if I wanted to get paid. You know, having that mindset with our health can be helpful if you're this, like me, struggling with this yo-yoing and ruminating on like, why am I not doing it? Maybe we just need to like reframe it. And it's like, I'm going to do this, make it a priority, make it a non-negotiable, because my goal of being healthy is so much more important than me feeling like it. Again. Number 4, allowing flexibility while skipping tracking on holidays and jumping back on track. So I've done this. I did this for Thanksgiving. I didn't track on that day, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to make sure I load up on my protein because I'm excited to have, turkey and prime rib, and we had pork, like load up on that and still have some mac and cheese. And I made, candied sweet potatoes. I still had that. And I also didn't really track that day because I'm like, I want, in the past, I never really tracked after a couple of years. I just understood the breakfast, lunch, and dinners that I liked, that I had already tracked them in the past for several months. And I knew that as long as I ate these foods that I enjoyed, that I would not be severely under eating, which would be a problem, or severely, overeating, I would, maintain, and then usually around the holidays, I might gain 5 to 10 pounds. And then in January, I would, go back to just tracking or making sure that I was being much more mindful with reducing all the sweets, because that's really my main thing, is just having and enjoying sweet treats, Mindset shift number 5, recognizing that caring for my health is not vanity, and it's a way to honor the body that I've been given, which is such a blessing. It's something that I've struggled with sometimes in the past, is like making sure that spiritually I'm not being super vain or anything like that. But these two things can be true. Like, I can want to take care of my body and my health and look and feel good, but also not be a vain person and not be self-absorbed with my physical appearance. And a lot of that also has to do with being intentional about what we think about throughout the day, because we sometimes have to be honest with ourselves, because it can become an idol, right? Wanting to lose weight, wanting to look great can become an idol if we're consumed with that, and we're not also being in the Word, studying our Bible, praying, fellowshipping, going to church. Like, it's, we don't want just exercising and eating well to be the only thing that drives us and the only thing that we're thinking about if we're Christians. So something to consider there. Now, for the last thing, I want to give some practical tips on how to implement all these mindset shifts for the holidays. Planning ahead is going to be really great. Like I mentioned before, if you have a Christmas party, a holiday party, a work party, any kind of event that you want to go to where you want to enjoy and eat and fellowship and participate, well, then you can plan ahead for that and say, on this day, I might consider not tracking that day, but I'm going to have like a good, healthy, protein-filled breakfast and lunch and make sure I have plenty of fiber. And then I'll just, I can do the same thing even at the event, like fill my plate with a good amount of protein and veggies, but then I can still have like the sweet potato and a cupcake. You're less likely, and I've noticed it for myself as a former like binger or compulsive overeater, I'm less likely to binge if I actually eat a good healthy breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as opposed to fasting that day. It just does not work for me. Filling your plate wisely is what I just mentioned, and of course staying hydrated is so important. And that's something that I've learned throughout the few years, is that if you're feeling super thirsty all the time and you're drinking water and, going to the bathroom and peeing all the time, you might actually need electrolytes. I think that's one good thing that I got from the whole experience with keto and carnivore, is that I recognized that I have been in need of electrolytes for many years. It even, I had a hard time producing milk and had some weird health issues with that, being so dehydrated that I had like fissures, and it was very painful. And I'm wondering, looking back, if I had consumed electrolytes back then, if that would have helped. I do think so, because I remember a nurse after my second pregnancy saying that I needed electrolytes, but back then they didn't have like the powders and stuff. She was like, drink coconut water, and I don't like coconut water. So anyway, staying hydrated, and of course, before you start electrolytes or anything like that, make sure you talk with your doctor, especially if you're taking any medication or anything like that, because I think also if you have like heart issues or like high blood pressure, you sometimes need to be careful with sodium and all of that. So always talk with your doctor before starting supplements, especially electrolytes. All right, number B, flexible tracking and guilt-free choices. Again, it's kind of chimes back in and through some of the things I talked about before, but if you're tracking, you can plan your treats into your daily intake instead of seeing them as cheating. And I think that's a huge thing that I've heard time and time again, and it's finally sunk in after years. Like, don't consider not saying it's a cheat day or a cheat meal or a cheat anything, because like, you need to eat. We're humans, we need to eat. Looking at food as like bad can be part of the issue related to like binging and overeating and that whole negative mindset. It's like, food is food. We need to eat. We live in a time where we have things that we can indulge in, and that's a wonderful thing. We just need to have some discipline and self-control. If we prioritize our protein, our fiber, and our healthy stuff first, we can make room for the little treat that we want to have. And so that's what I've done. I've completely shifted from saying cheat to treat, and that's been super helpful. The third one is one of my favorites I'm calling it mindful movement because it doesn't have to be grueling exercise if that's not something that you like. So many people nowadays are enjoying walking and getting 10,000 steps or 15,000 steps. And, it's different for everybody. Just find something you enjoy, whether it's a walk outside. I know it's winter. Not everybody lives in Florida like me. But you can get a walking pad in the house. You can watch YouTube videos and just dance to music videos for 30 minutes. I've been seeing a lot of really cool jump rope things that people do nowadays, which has been really fun. I'm kind of incorporating that too. It's just a matter of finding something you enjoy. If you have kids, going outside and playing with them, or even playing with them inside, having the dance party with them inside if it's too cold to be outside is really great and a lot of fun, and a way to not only move your body, but also have fun and be present and mindful with the people that you love. And the last tip here was reframing holiday treats, which I kind of already touched on, but it's important to also consider that having a treat doesn't mean that you're going to fail, right? The more you tell yourself that, the more likely you're going to make that happen. You can have a treat, incorporate into your calories for the day, your macros, and not derail yourself. You can ask yourself, what is the evidence that me having this one treat today is for a fact going to derail my entire, weight loss and health process? Well, that's only true if you allow it to. That's only true if you're going to decide from that moment on that you're not going to eat healthily anymore. You're not going to be intentional with your food choices anymore. It's a decision that you make. So I don't know if that makes sense. If you think if you tell yourself after having one little treat at a holiday or Christmas party that's going to throw you off and that's it, you're done for the rest of the day, the week, the year, well, then you're the one making that true, because that's not necessarily true. It's a black and white, all or nothing statement, which we call a mental mistake or cognitive distortion in psychology and counseling. But just recognize how that mindset actually completely throws you off. It's the mindset that's throwing you off. It's not the treat. There's plenty of people you can watch here on YouTube who are very fit, very healthy, and they'll have a treat at a holiday party and it doesn't derail them. They don't gain 20, 30 pounds. The reason why I say that is to recognize, where's the evidence? Because if this is a fact, then it would be a fact for everybody, but it's not necessarily a fact. It's only a fact if you give up and you derail yourself. I hope that makes sense. But this comes from sort of rational therapy, which I find to be very helpful because, again, we need to meditate on truth. Not be dictated by our emotions and the way that we feel in the moment and beating ourselves down off of one decision. We need to recognize it's okay to have a treat and I can jump right back on my plan right after, and that's okay. Or if you already incorporated the fact that you knew you were going to have a treat that day, then there's nothing to worry about. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. The key point here is to be flexible, to be mindful, to really be aware of the way that we think, so that we don't hold ourselves back anymore, whether it's the Christmas season or any holiday season or any time of year. You can stay consistent. You can enjoy a treat and still make progress towards your goals.